Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here I am one more time with a message. Yeah, I bet you can say Eddie Marcus sure is busy. Yes, I am busy. And I've been busy for a long time, about 40 years. Speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and acting and acting and acting and speaking. And not receiving any pay in the form of money for my services. Neither have I been asking for any. I'm on the mindset that peace and prosperity and joy and freedom and our dreams coming true, you can't measure that with money. Neither can money get it. And so I've been advocating the means whereby these things can be achieved. And it seems as if no one is listening. It makes you think that sometimes, if you look back on history, the thing that got support are those things that embarrassed people. You know, I come from the perspective that there is an almighty power that has made it possible for these things to occur. And I'm quite familiar with a number of voices that are out there advocating in behalf of that power. And yet I see very few actually putting steps behind that advocacy. It makes me think about the 60s when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about God and talked about the words Jesus and the scriptures. But it was not just talk, it was walking. And he even talked about the Constitution that was supposed to set up in such a way that it said all men are created equal and so on and so forth, and that it represented a higher way of doing things. And yet people had been championing that for quite some time. It was something that happened during the time of Dr. King, seemingly that embarrassed people to the extent that they were willing to go out and do some of the things that they had been advocating for but never done. And so it was like, if we say we care, then we better start acting like we care. And so they walked out acting like they cared. Now I know the things that I talk about they are backed up by what people have been talking about. And people yet have been failing to do. I would expect that the church, as we know it today, would be 100% behind the things that I say. And yet, it seems as if very few are. And yet, I recognize that there are many, but they're so scattered, and the powers that be kind of do quiet down. It's like they don't want that word to get out. And when that kind of thing happens, it seems as if that faith-building conspiracy is in play 100%. I'm reminded that there was once a club called the 700 Club, and there was a Pat Robinson that was the leader of that particular organization. And at one time he was running for president of the United States quite a few years ago. But one of his platforms or advocacy represented the fact that he did not believe that nations such as the United States or the G8 or G20 nations should not actually be committing themselves to make lesser nations prosperous, that if they did so, they would probably become a threat to the U.S. or the G8 or the G20. I couldn't understand that, but that's the way it is. And I heard some other brothers say that there's a difference between the way white people see Jesus and the way black people see Jesus. You see, today you got white people, fundamentalists and evangelicals, advocating about the same Jesus, but their view of it is that Donald Trump is a representative of that. I don't see how they could say that, but they do. And even when they say they disagree, his actions give them something that they approve of. For instance, stacking the courts. In other words, they're actually for a court that works for them and not everyone else. For instance, they say they're concerned about abortion. They want to end this kind of stuff. And so to stack a court that would be against Roe v. Wade, other things that they're interested in was facilitating their aspirations in life. And it seems kind of fake, contradictory when you say you're concerned about abortion. You want to make sure that child comes into the world, and yet you don't care about how that child make it after he gets in this world. In other words, poverty exists, and you're not saying, let's get rid of poverty. I can't understand why the evangelicals and the fundamentalist Christians aren't saying, with the same force of get the kids here in the world, how come they're not saying, let's get rid of poverty? I mean real poverty. How come they're not saying there's a better way for us to go forward? I wonder, and I truly am concerned about why they don't say that. It makes them seem like a hypocrite. Well, be that as it may, that's what it is. So what I'm asking those people who are not channeled into God to stand up and walk in such a way that it appears as if you're representing God. It appears that you're representing Jesus or the Christ. Because what you're doing, you're actually standing up and demanding for yourselves that which you are missing. And when you stand up collectively together, that's gonna, hey, it represents a lot of you. And by doing it in the name of God, you make those who say they're speaking for God, maybe want to reconsider their approach. You know, right now they're trying to tell the poor people, get a seed, go in debt, get a seed. That's an indication that you have faith in God. Plant that seed, but that seed only goes to them. And see, now they are being blessed. They can have jets to fly all over the world to tell other people to plant seeds. They can live in nice, fine homes, just like the elite does. So they can say God bless them, and you can see them as being blessed because you know how you feel about money. You want some too. And when you see a guy with a big plane, that means he's being blessed. God is doing these wonderful things for him. And so you want the same things, and you're willing to pay your money hoping that somehow that God is going to bless you. And every now and then, when you've made these investments, somebody comes out and posts some blessing on you so you can go out and say, God bless you, to give the indication that God is in the blessing business. And so keep on giving your money so you can possibly be the one that's coming in. As Osteen would say, this is the day that God got something planned for you. It really tears me up, ladies and gentlemen, to see people play with God like that. It really tears me up. Yet at the same time, it is said that poor people see God as a liberator, coming down to do the kinds of things that I advocate. And they see it this way because nothing else has worked for them. And if there is to be a God, how can that God represent anything other than freedom from the poverty, freedom from the crime and violence, freedom from the hell that they're in? So they see God, they see Jesus this way, while those who don't say the meek is going to inherit the earth. No, my friends, the meek is going to inherit what those who have robbed the earth leaves them. And you find yourself caught up in a bind. For me, I have believed that God was a loving God and cares for everybody. None of us would be here without God. I have believed that the resources that have been planted in the earth, on it and above it, seen and unseen, that are being used for the preservation of mankind, and I have seen the labor force that have been participatory in the manifestation of those resources. And it makes it very simple for me to believe that if everybody plays a role in the process, then everybody should reap the benefits. And there is no such thing as a higher benefit once you put your hands to the plow. Whatever you desire that is of the fruition, then that's yours. And I can't see any man complaining about that unless they have some bigotry in them where they want to have more than you for whatever purpose. I have no idea, or should I say I do. And it's kind of pathetic. It absolutely is pathetic. So I guess every day I'm coming here trying to see if I can say something that will motivate, that will stimulate, and drive some people to go beyond what they have been doing, because what they have been doing is failing. What they have been doing right now reminds me of your president, who seems to hate people of color because he's been taught that way. Now, he didn't just wake up one day hating people with color. His parents taught him that, and he lived in a society around money where everybody that had money was expressing that same kind of philosophy or ideology. And so he believes that if you're not white, you're just a handicap. You're a threat in them having more money. You're a threat in them having the freedom to abuse people as they want to. You hear him talk about how he has abused people. And now the people down on the borders who have come from countries, in his own words, that says that regardless of what persecution and hell they are enduring at the border, it's much more desirable than the hell that they're running from. And yet, this godly person has one thing in mind, and that is to send them back so that Americans, so that the rich people can have more benefit. This is not so the poor people in this country can have more benefit. No, it's so the rich people can have more benefit, and the poor people can be used, can be exploited to a greater degree, so that just to survive you got something. My. And if you don't believe that, look how this nation honors the royalty. Look how they talk about the king, the queen, the prince, the princess. Look how they talk about these guys as if they are something special. And they're white. The little mixed girl got in there some kind of way. They don't like that, but be that as it may, it's there. So what I'm saying to all of the people that's suffering, you can't depend upon people to come to your rescue. You're going to have to stand up, get up off your knees, stand on your feet, open your mind and open your heart, and let your spirit live, and let it draw from this invisible God, and make the world know that that invisible God lives, because it lives in you. And you walk forward as if though there's nothing on the face of the earth that can prevent you from achieving the things that you're achieving at. And to make sure that you're always walking the straight and narrow is that you do not offend people. You do not come at them like you're going to take from them. No, you're not trying to take from them. You're trying to acquire that what this godly spirit that's living in you is saying your potion, and to leave them their potion, so that they can understand when you work together, they're satisfied as you are satisfied. Just the other day, I was walking through some car lots, and I saw beautiful cars. You know they're making them magnificently beautiful nowadays. And it just seemed like as far as the eyes could see, where there are cars and cars and cars and cars, and you ask yourself, why are there so many people walking? Why are there so many ragged jalopies on the road with all these cars here? It seems as if there are enough cars for anybody that want a car. And I was thinking about that, and my wife said, well, these cars are made for people who can afford cars. You know, when you see cars on the highway, sometimes the traffic can be kind of stifled there. But these cars are here, so when these people who already got cars decide that they want a new car, they can come and get a new car. Not for people who don't have cars. Well, if you think like that, then you can understand why people on the corner begging. Now, if people had cars, yes, the traffic would. I was coming home the other day, and I'm looking on one side of the highway, the traffic is moving, and on the other side, going the opposite direction, they were just looking like another parking lot. Nobody was moving. So if you can imagine that people who don't have cars had cars, what a mess that would be. But then if you think about our robot, how they built these highways, how they changed these traffic lanes, how they came and created these trains, I mean these trains that are fast, that can go places, and many of them, then we would have made an adjustment so that transportation can still move on up and yet be fast enough to deal with the issues of the day. So there are so many ways that progress can be made if we're willing to make the steps. We got to be able to go forward, and progress will follow us. In fact, progress will lead us if we're willing to stop being stifled in our own old ways. And mentioning that old ways, I'm reminded of the presidential candidates that's coming for the 220 election. And I'm looking at Biden. I heard a lady say the other day that Biden's time has come and gone, and that he should not be, Rose O'Donnell said that he should not be seeking the presidency because the world is moving forward, and we don't need old men's ideas trying to lead anybody. And that's why I'm not running today, because there were years when I was in my early 40s and stuff, I used to seek the office talking about the same things. But now I feel that my time has come and gone. And as she said, Biden should get out of the way and leave this thing open to progressive people. We don't we don't say we don't need his advice. I'm sure he has a lot of advice that he could give that people, Democrats and the nation, could benefit from. But as far as him sitting on the throne, no, he don't need to be sitting on the throne, just the idea. And yet the powers that be are trying to make sure that no progressive youth gets on that throne by putting before you the idea that Biden is the only one that can deal with Trump. So you got these two old ancient people. One, I'm talking about making America great again when nobody had any money but whites, and not all of them had money. But the other people of other color didn't have anything but what the whites allowed them to have. And now you got another white guy who was out there in the times when black people and other people didn't have anything, really, want to put him on the throne. Now what's that for? Either, then it doesn't matter who wins. Those of you who suffer, whether it's Trump or Biden, those of you who have been suffering all along will still be suffering all along. The hope is that if a younger person got there, they perhaps would do more. But the truth of the matter is that the same power that's been running the country and the world since back then is still here. And if any participant in the maintenance of the status quo wins out, the status quo is going to stay the status quo. So I'm saying, why is it that people can't change? Why do people who have grown up believing in Santa Claus, who had to become Santa Claus themselves, still teach Santa Claus? Caught in a bind, can't turn it loose. Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to wait until the waters? I mean, there are good things that's happening in the world, but look at America today. There are people that are super rich and having good lives everywhere, in every state, in perhaps every city. There's somebody there that's having a good time. And they're not worried about other folks. They're just happy that they are not in a position that other folks are in. But then the flood comes. I mean, the waters are high. Your cars can't move. Your cattle are being floated away from you. Your houses fall. Your highways fall in. You're just as helpless as anybody else. And you want some, what you call them, first responders to come to your rescue, to look after you. Only when they've done that and they have to go through some suffering because of what they did for you, you don't care about them. It's like the guys that you sent off into war to fight that you can keep on living good at the expense of others, who kill so that that can happen, who die so that that can happen. And when that's done, they have to come back and suffer because they don't mean anything to you. The only thing that meant something to you was your money, which allowed you to have access things that people who don't have money can get. And that's just why I stand before you as a representative of a different idea that says that we all matter. We all should play a part. And when those floods come and we all playing a part in it, we all got the same benefits and the same sacrifices. We can put our hands to it and we can defeat the floods, my friends. We won't defeat them, but we'll be prepared when they come. We'll be prepared when the wildfires start burning up our homes and our cities. We'll be prepared to deal with that. We'll be prepared when the ice and the snow starts falling. We'll be prepared to deal with that. And when these ice caps in the different parts of the world and we start seeing the climate change that's beyond anything that we've ever dealt with before, we will be more prepared to deal with that than when we will if we don't take care of that. So I'm basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, it seems as if it's time for people to stop being foolish. It's time for people to stop acting like they are led by something demonic. It is time for people to realize that when you bring a little baby into the world, you look at that baby. You know exactly what that baby needs. Well, you look at the baby first and you think about how wonderful, how beautiful they are. And then you start thinking about the troubles and trials and tribulations that this child is going to have to go through in the same old world that you're living in. And then you start second guessing yourselves. Rather than saying, we're going to have to come together and do something. We're going to have to start protecting one another. Protecting one another. And ladies and gentlemen, when we can come together and protect one another as the way I've described it, you don't have to worry about a military. Every last one of you will be willing to stand up and do what is necessary to protect yourself from any enemy that would come and want to destroy what you, the people, not just you as an individual, but you, the people, desire. And once you have come to an awareness of what that is like, then it makes you available to approach other national and international transactions in such a way that people can believe you, trust you, come to you for counsel, come to you for guidance. And those people who are running from hell, from wherever they're coming from, won't have to run because it's like an antivirus that goes out and protect the people in these other countries by becoming light, by becoming salt, like becoming love letters to the rest of the world. Now, I know I'm speaking a bunch of stuff to many of you right now that you don't want to hear. I know I'm boring to a lot of you right now, but I can't see myself doing anything else. I can't force you to do what you need to do to bring peace to your lives and freedom. God does not force you. Maybe nature is in a place that it can respond to the fact that you shall reap what you sow. The seed that you plant determines the fruit that you get. Nature does that, but why, my friends, do we have to allow it to just be that because somebody else? When we look at our Constitution of the United States, it has a lot of good stuff in it, but it's not sufficient for the cause. When we look at our Bible, it has a lot of good stuff in it, but it's not sufficient for our cause. When we look at all the organizations, the educational institutions, when we look at the health institutions and we look at it for what it represents, it's okay, they do a lot of wonderful things, but it's not sufficient for our cause. When we look at white people and black people and people of other ethnicities, they have got a lot of wonderful things, but the way it's happening today is insufficient for our cause. So what is sufficient? What is sufficient for our cause? A change of mind, a change of heart, a change of spirit, a change of system. All of these must be instituted to be sufficient to bring what we are spending time on our knees or going to work every day for. I feel so sad when I see people have to work so many hours. And let me say something else before I end. I want you to know that cops, police, law enforcement officers, They are people too. Now, just like the rest of the human race, you got some nuts in their midst. And those nuts are people too. Yes, sometimes they come out and do some crazy things like killing people who they don't deserve any killing and who should, by their determination, is entitled to be killed. That one is trying to kill you. Other than that, this stuff going around killing black people and other people, kids with toy guns and stuff like this. I have posted some time ago that if you saw a cop abusing his power by beating down anyone, black or white, or shooting somebody just because they got the gun, and kicking and abusing people, that the public should get game, tear his butt up. Whatever he's doing to someone else, do it to them right on the spot. Let them know that that stuff will not be tolerated. I have posted this over and over again, and I don't be playing. I'm serious about that. This goes for anybody. Anybody that's abusing anyone else, the whole population should back that one up that's being abused. Now, having said that, I'm saying that cops are people too. Cops get scared just like you get scared. Even though they got a gun, sometimes they just lose their mind and figure that pulling the trigger is the only way that they can protect themselves. So what we should do is not be trying to bring more police to protect the citizens. What we should be doing is changing the systems where police are not even needed, especially with guns. Maybe direct traffic, maybe answer some questions, maybe come to somebody dealing in an argument, but not going out there trying to be law and judge and jury. No. We have to think about the reality that cops need to be treated with respect just like me. They got to deserve it. But until they do something like you catch them out there doing what I just mentioned, they deserve it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have spoken on a lot of things right here today, and for those of you who have stuck with me, I'm a bored person today. I'm down because I see so much pain that does not have to exist. And I know that you say, well, Eddie, you ought to go get you some money and you won't be down. No, that's true. I go get me some money. I won't be down. I'll have my bills paid. I'll have a nice car to ride in, just one of those real nice ones. One costs $60,000, $70,000. I'd have everything that I desire going on. And you know what? I wouldn't give a stinking about everybody that devil. I would not care one bit because you on welfare. You ought to get a job. Ain't that some stuff? That is the biggest hypocritical thing I could ever think of. But it's true. It's not just me, what I just said about myself. What I just said about myself is what's happening already. For those of you who have put your faith in money. For those who put your faith in the man who says, I don't care. Give me control of the money, and it doesn't matter who makes the laws. I will influence the whole blessed world. And whoever is maneuvering and positioning themselves with power over that money, they definitely are controlling the world. Yes, you got a job. You being manipulated by somebody who don't give a damn about you. I'm telling you, you got a job making money. I don't care what walk of life. You can be in computers. You can be in Apple telephones. You can be in automobiles. You can be in contracting. Whatever job you got that's making money, you are being controlled and manipulated by someone that doesn't give any more about you, care any more about you than Donald Trump. But you say, well, it's okay. I got some money. And that means that you do not give a darn about anybody else out here in this world who does not have any money. I'm telling you. You say, well, I give to charity. God dog it. Would you want some charity? You see a man standing on this corner of the street with a sign saying, help me, and you pass right on by, realizing and thinking to yourself that he's trying to trick you. You already been tricked. You really been tricked. So I guess I'm saying to you, if I were God, I couldn't do any more than allow you to make your own choices. But I would hope that your choice would be that you should experience freedom, that you should experience peace, that you should experience prosperity, that you should have joy in your life, and that every last one of your dreams would come true. If I were God, I could do no more than that, especially when I give you choice to determine if you want it or not. That in that process you will recognize that you can only have it if everybody can have it. Because without everyone having it, you're going to have the expressions of lying and cheating and stealing and killing and terror and war and bigotry and hatred and racism, and that's just to name a few. And that's exactly what we have. So if I were God, I would be so disappointed in you. If I were God, I would be so disappointed in you. Because I would have given you the opportunity to act as if you were God, a loving God. And yet you acted as a devil. Yes, if I were God, I would be truly disappointed in you. And who are you? Every last one of you. From the poorest man on the face of the earth to the richest man on the face of the earth. I would be so disappointed in every last one of you. But that's what God is. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying goodbye.